The Galactic Council believed Earth's silence meant surrender. Across thousands of inhabited star systems, that assumption hardened into unquestioned truth. Generation after generation, alien diplomats sent greetings into the darkness surrounding Sol, only to receive the same answer: nothing. Exploration fleets passed through neighboring sectors and detected no territorial claims, no military patrols, no diplomatic envoys. Human signals were sparse, carefully filtered, and strangely outdated, as if an underdeveloped civilization had simply stopped looking toward the stars. To the great empires of the galaxy, Earth became little more than an astronomical curiosity, a lonely blue world circling an ordinary yellow star, populated by a species too timid, too primitive, or too insignificant to matter. Silence, they believed, was the language of fear. But silence can hide many things. Inside the towering chambers of the Galactic Council, where crystalline walls reflected the light of distant suns and holographic constellations floated like living ghosts above polished obsidian floors, the fate of civilizations was discussed with detached confidence. Species that had conquered galaxies debated trade routes, military campaigns, and planetary annexations as casually as merchants negotiating prices. Earth was rarely mentioned. When it was, laughter often followed. The humans had ignored invitations to join the Council for centuries. They had declined alliances, refused technology exchanges, and rejected every offer of protection. To the Council's oldest members, the explanation seemed obvious. Humanity feared the galaxy beyond its skies and had chosen isolation over extinction. No one questioned that conclusion. Then came the day that changed everything. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, where sunlight was reduced to a pale shimmer against endless blackness, a tiny human listening station drifted silently around Pluto. It was barely visible even to advanced scanners, a modest collection of antenna arrays, sensor dishes, and communication relays patiently recording the whispers of the cosmos. The station carried no visible weapons. No defensive fleet guarded it. To any passing observer, it appeared almost abandoned, forgotten by the civilization that had built it. That illusion lasted only a few seconds. Without warning, a Council patrol cruiser emerged from faster-than-light transit, responding to what its commander dismissed as unauthorized surveillance equipment. There was no attempt at communication. No verification. No diplomatic protocol. One pulse of antimatter energy erupted from the cruiser's forward batteries, crossing the void in absolute silence before striking the station dead center. For an instant, the darkness bloomed with blinding white light. Metal twisted into vapor. Solar panels shattered into glittering fragments that scattered like frozen rain across the emptiness. The explosion faded as quickly as it had appeared, leaving nothing behind except drifting debris and an expanding cloud of silent ash. The patrol commander logged the action as routine enforcement. Back inside the Council chambers, the report received little attention. A minor observation platform had been removed. An insignificant species had lost an insignificant outpost. The meeting continued uninterrupted. New borders were drawn. New taxes approved. New wars quietly authorized. The destruction of the distant station barely occupied a single line within the official archives. No applause echoed through the chamber. No alarm sounded. No one noticed that, hidden inside the station's final transmission, a priority signal had escaped before the blast consumed every circuit. Invisible across the vacuum of space, it raced toward the inner solar system at the speed of light, carrying only a handful of words encoded beneath layers of ancient encryption. First strike confirmed. Protocol Sentinel activated, ****. On Earth, nothing changed. Cities remained bright beneath the night sky. Children laughed in crowded streets. Aircraft crossed peaceful skies. Waves rolled against familiar shores. To billions of ordinary people, it was just another ordinary day on an ordinary planet. But somewhere deep beneath rock, steel, and oceans, ancient systems awakened. And for the first time in centuries, humanity stopped listening, far beneath Earth's restless oceans, hidden beneath mountain ranges that had stood since before recorded history, and concealed inside hollowed asteroids drifting through the solar system, humanity's true civilization had grown in absolute secrecy. While the world above celebrated scientific breakthroughs one discovery at a time, another world existed in the shadows, one built over centuries by engineers, astronauts, soldiers, and visionaries who understood a simple truth: if the galaxy was watching, then the galaxy must never see everything. Massive fusion reactors hummed deep below layers of reinforced bedrock. Endless corridors stretched through underground cities illuminated by soft white lights that never flickered. Silent maglev trains carried personnel between colossal command complexes where every screen displayed stars instead of nations. It was a civilization hidden beneath civilization itself, thriving not through fear, but through extraordinary patience. At the heart of that invisible network stood Admiral Elena Hayes. She wasn't a politician, nor a conqueror. She was a guardian. From the command deck of Lunar Bastion 1, a fortress carved into the eternal darkness of the moon's far side, Hayes watched holographic projections of the solar system rotate slowly around her. Every planet shimmered in blue light. Every orbital station, listening post, and concealed defense platform appeared as glowing markers connected by streams of encrypted data. Beyond the panoramic armored viewport, endless stars burned silently against the black vacuum, beautiful and indifferent. Somewhere beyond those distant lights, an entire galaxy believed humanity was weak. Hayes almost smiled at the thought. She had spent nearly 30 years preparing for an enemy she hoped would never come. Every promotion she earned, every strategy she designed, every sleepless night inside buried command bunkers had revolved around one mission handed down through generations of commanders before her. Never provoke. Never threaten. Never reveal. The Sentinel fleet remained humanity's greatest secret. Kilometers beneath the moon's gray surface, enormous blast doors concealed hangars so vast they resembled underground continents. Thousands of warships rested inside perfect rows, their dark hulls absorbing the artificial light above. Sleek interceptors, colossal carriers, autonomous drone vessels, and experimental cruisers slept in complete silence, maintained by millions of robotic workers moving with flawless precision. Every vessel was fueled. Every weapon calibrated. Every crew continuously trained through simulations that had become second nature. For decades, not a single ship had launched in anger. That was exactly the point. Humanity had watched every empire rise. Every empire fall. Invisible surveillance probes hidden inside comets and drifting debris fields quietly monitored alien civilizations for generations. They recorded languages, military doctrines, political rivalries, economic collapses, and first contact disasters. Entire libraries beneath Antarctica contained centuries of observations gathered without a single alien realizing they were being studied. Humanity learned one lesson over and over again. Every civilization that believed itself unstoppable eventually mistook restraint for weakness. Arrogance always arrived before collapse. Earth intended to avoid both. Inside the operations chamber, officers moved with disciplined calm despite the growing tension. Tactical analysts reviewed sensor reports arriving from the outer solar system. Artificial intelligences compared millions of possible futures every second. Engineers monitored planetary shield grids hidden beneath civilian infrastructure. Nothing was left to chance. Nothing relied upon hope alone. Hayes walked slowly through the command center, her boots echoing softly across polished steel floors. She paused beside a transparent observation wall overlooking one of the immense underground docks. Below, countless dormant battleships waited beneath rows of maintenance lights, looking less like machines and more like predators sleeping beneath frozen ice. She remembered the oath every Sentinel commander repeated on the day they accepted command. We do not seek war. We prepare so others never dare bring it to our home. For 400 years, humanity had honored that promise without exception. Now, somewhere beyond Pluto, a tiny listening station had gone silent. Hayes looked toward the holographic map as a single red warning indicator appeared at the edge of the solar system. The room grew perfectly still. Centuries of preparation were about to be tested. The confirmation arrived without fanfare. No sirens screamed through the hidden command centers. No panicked voices echoed across communication channels. Instead, a single encrypted transmission from the ruins of Pluto's listening station appeared on every Sentinel command display, its priority code glowing crimson against an otherwise calm interface. First strike confirmed. For a long moment, no one spoke. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, beneath layers of granite and reinforced alloy that had protected humanity's greatest secrets for centuries, officers stared silently at the message. It was more than an alert. It was the sentence every generation had hoped would never be written. 400 years of restraint had reached their breaking point in a single line of text. Admiral Elena Hayes stood motionless before the enormous holographic map suspended in the center of Lunar Bastion 1. Tiny streams of blue light represented humanity's hidden sensor network stretching across the solar system. Then, one after another, new signals emerged beyond the orbit of Neptune. Unknown gravitational distortions. Artificial hyperspace ruptures. Mass signatures beyond calculation. The enemy was coming. Within minutes, long-range surveillance probes confirmed what the mathematical models had already predicted. Entire Galactic Council battle groups were assembling at the edge of interstellar space. Countless warships drifted in disciplined formation before slipping into faster-than-light corridors aimed directly toward Sol. The Council clearly believed Pluto's destruction had served its purpose. A frightened civilization, they assumed, would surrender long before the first invasion fleet crossed the asteroid belt. They had mistaken patience for weakness. Across Earth, life continued as though nothing had happened. Morning sunlight spilled across crowded cities. Farmers tended fields beneath open skies. High-speed trains crossed continents with mechanical precision. Children hurried into classrooms, laughing as if tomorrow were guaranteed. They looked up at peaceful blue skies, completely unaware that millions of hostile vessels were already accelerating toward the only home humanity had ever known. That normality wasn't an accident. It was part of the plan. For centuries, governments had quietly agreed that civilization itself should never live beneath the constant shadow of fear. Hidden beneath every major continent, protected by mountains, oceans, and forgotten military complexes, another world remained awake. Engineers activated dormant fusion grids. Logistics officers unlocked sealed arsenals. Autonomous factories that had sat silent for decades slowly came alive, their robotic assembly arms beginning to manufacture replacement parts before a single battle had even begun. Preparation had always been humanity's greatest weapon. Inside Lunar Bastion 1, however, the emotional weight was impossible to ignore. Some officers clenched trembling fists beneath their consoles. Others quietly studied family photographs stored on personal displays before locking them away. Everyone understood what the approaching fleet represented. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. Simulations had prepared their minds. Discipline controlled their actions. But no simulation could erase the reality that this would be the first true interstellar war in human history. Admiral Hayes slowly walked around the command platform, saying nothing at first. She watched the tactical projections update in real time as crimson icons multiplied across the outer solar system. Every passing second narrowed the distance between peace and catastrophe. Finally, one of her senior commanders broke the silence. "Admiral, if we activate the fleet now, they'll know everything we've hidden." Hayes kept her eyes on the holographic stars. They already forced that choice. Silence settled over the room once again. Then the Strategic Council convened. Some argued for diplomacy one final time, insisting that even now communication might prevent disaster. Others demanded an immediate preemptive strike before the invasion fleets reached Jupiter. Every proposal carried unimaginable consequences. Every decision risked billions of lives. Voices remained calm, but beneath every carefully chosen word lived centuries of fear, hope, and responsibility. The debate continued until no new arguments remained. Hayes stepped forward. The room fell completely still. Her voice was steady, almost quiet. They destroyed an unarmed station. She looked toward the growing wall of enemy signals moving relentlessly through space. They are not coming to negotiate. With one deliberate motion, she placed her hand upon the command console. Initiate Protocol Sentinel. Across the hidden defenses of the solar system, ancient systems awakened. And in the darkness between the stars, humanity prepared to answer its first shot with its last warning. The Galactic Council's invasion fleet crossed into the solar system with absolute confidence. Thousands of colossal warships emerged from faster-than-light transit in perfect formation, their metallic hulls reflecting the distant glow of the sun as if the system had already become conquered territory. Commanders aboard the lead dreadnought studied tactical projections that painted Earth as an isolated, technologically inferior world with no meaningful defensive capability. According to every intelligence report collected over centuries, humanity possessed little more than primitive orbital infrastructure and scattered scientific outposts. The operation was expected to last hours, not days. A swift demonstration of overwhelming force would convince the humans to submit without prolonged resistance. The first signs that something was wrong appeared near the asteroid belt. Sensors detected impossible energy fluctuations deep within the drifting fields of rock and ice. At first, Council analysts dismissed them as natural magnetic disturbances caused by mineral-rich asteroids. Then entire clusters of seemingly lifeless rocks began changing course in perfect synchronization. Massive slabs of stone split apart with mechanical precision, revealing armored shipyards hidden inside hollow worlds. Gigantic docking rings unfolded like metallic flowers blooming in the vacuum. Reactor cores that had slept in silence for centuries ignited one after another, flooding space with brilliant streams of blue-white light. Factory drones poured from concealed hangars by the thousands, surrounding dormant battleships that slowly awakened from their endless vigil. Confusion spread across the alien command network. Before orders could be updated, another impossible report arrived. Saturn's magnificent rings were moving. Not the graceful drift dictated by gravity, but deliberate, engineered motion. Countless fragments of ice separated into flawless geometric formations as ancient defense platforms rose from beneath them. Their surfaces shed centuries of frozen dust before enormous weapon arrays rotated toward the approaching fleet. Kilometer-long rail cannons extended from structures no telescope had ever recognized. Missile silos emerged from within icy debris that had masqueraded as harmless celestial fragments for generations. Across the gas giant's orbit, invisible shield emitters activated simultaneously, weaving a shimmering barrier that stretched across millions of kilometers. The solar system itself was transforming into a fortress. Meanwhile, deep inside the Galactic Council's historical archives, panic took an entirely different form. As emergency analysts searched desperately for anything humanity might have concealed, forgotten records surfaced beneath layers of encrypted diplomatic files. Dust-covered transmissions dating back thousands of years appeared on secure displays, messages that had been ignored because they seemed insignificant at the time. They revealed a startling truth. Earth had never failed to receive the Council's invitations. Humanity had answered. Respectfully. Deliberately. And with unmistakable clarity. Long before the Council had reached its current height of power, human observers had quietly studied the rise and fall of galactic civilizations from afar. They had concluded that every empire, no matter how noble its beginnings, eventually surrendered to arrogance, expansion, and the illusion that superior strength granted moral authority. Rather than joining that endless cycle, humanity had chosen another path. Isolation was never an act of fear. It was a conscious refusal to become another empire built upon conquest. The Council had mistaken restraint for incapacity. Back aboard the invading flagship, silence settled over the bridge as reality finally replaced assumption. Tactical screens that once displayed a defenseless solar system now overflowed with thousands of newly identified military installations. Hidden fleets emerged from the shadows of moons. Stealth satellites powered online around every planet. Even Earth's civilian orbital network unfolded into interlocking defense arrays with astonishing precision. Every peaceful structure the Council had observed for centuries had possessed another purpose concealed beneath its ordinary appearance. The invasion had not entered an unsuspecting star system. It had marched directly into the most carefully prepared defensive network the galaxy had never imagined. As Admiral Elena Hayes watched the enemy hesitate for the first time, she understood something the Council still did not. The greatest weapon humanity had ever built was not its fleet. It was 400 years of patience. And now, with every secret finally revealed, there would be no turning back. The first shot of the war never reached Earth. As the Galactic Council's forward dreadnought unleashed a beam capable of cracking planetary shields, thousands of hidden defense satellites awakened in perfect synchronization. Across the darkness surrounding Saturn, Mars, and the asteroid belt, shimmering barriers of coherent energy ignited one after another, bending the devastating blast harmlessly into the void. For a heartbeat, every commander on both sides simply watched. The impossible had happened. Humanity had intercepted a weapon the Council believed no civilization could survive. Then the solar system answered. Deep beneath the moon's scarred surface, blast doors the size of mountains rumbled open. One by one, then by the hundreds, then by the thousands, the Sentinel fleet rose from its underground hangars like an ancient force finally released from centuries of restraint. Their engines glowed with quiet blue fire as they slipped into formation without a single wasted movement. There were no triumphant speeches. No celebration. Only disciplined precision born from 400 years of preparation. Admiral Elena Hayes stood at the center of Lunar Bastion 1, her eyes fixed upon the tactical display. Millions of friendly and hostile signatures filled the holographic battlefield, changing every second as artificial intelligences processed more possibilities than any biological mind could comprehend. "Engage," she said softly. That single word echoed across the solar system. Human warships accelerated with astonishing coordination, not charging recklessly into battle but flowing through space like currents in a vast ocean. Every maneuver had been rehearsed thousands of times. Autonomous drones raced ahead, projecting false fleet signatures that lured enemy formations into carefully prepared kill zones hidden among the asteroid fields. As Council cruisers pursued phantom targets, dormant rail cannons buried inside hollow asteroids erupted with blinding flashes, firing tungsten projectiles at relativistic speeds. Enemy shields collapsed before their commanders even understood where the attacks had originated. Panic spread across the invasion fleet. Their tactical algorithms began recalculating. Human commanders were already 3 moves ahead. Every retreat concealed another ambush. Every apparent weakness became a calculated trap. Swarms of interceptor craft darted between colossal alien battleships, disabling engines with surgical precision rather than destroying reactors outright. Boarding teams captured command vessels intact, extracting navigational codes that instantly revealed weaknesses across the Council's communication network. Instead of seeking annihilation, humanity dismantled the invasion piece by piece, severing its coordination until the once unified armada became isolated pockets struggling to survive. The greatest surprise came not from Earth's weapons, but from Earth's restraint. Admiral Hayes rejected every proposal to fire upon civilian transports accompanying the Council fleet. She refused to authorize planet-killing weapons that had remained hidden beneath Mercury's crust for centuries. Entire opportunities for revenge appeared before her, each one capable of erasing billions of lives. She declined them all. "We end the war," she said. "We do not become the reason another begins." Those words spread farther than any missile ever could. Across occupied sectors of the galaxy, oppressed civilizations watched the battle unfold through intercepted transmissions. Species that had lived beneath Council domination for generations saw something they had believed impossible. Humanity possessed overwhelming military superiority. Yet chose mercy where conquest would have been easier. One by one, rebellion ignited. Colonies sabotaged council supply routes. Enslaved fleets turned their weapons against former masters. Ancient rivals united beneath a single purpose as the illusion of the council's invincibility shattered across the stars. What had begun as an invasion of one isolated world transformed into a galactic uprising against centuries of oppression. Hours later, the battlefield fell eerily silent. Broken warships drifted between the planets like scattered monuments to arrogance. Emergency beacons blinked across the darkness as human rescue vessels moved among both friendly and enemy survivors alike. There was no victory chant echoing through the command centers. Only exhausted relief. Admiral Hayes looked across the endless sea of stars beyond the moon. Humanity had not fought because it hungered for power. It had fought because there was no peaceful path left. And in proving that strength could serve compassion instead of domination, Earth had won something greater than a war. It had given the galaxy a future no empire had ever imagined. The war ended not with another explosion, but with silence. It was the kind of silence the galaxy had never truly known, not the silence of fear, surrender, or forgotten worlds, but the quiet that follows when generations of violence finally exhaust themselves. Across thousands of star systems, the emergency broadcasts ceased one by one. Weapons that had burned relentlessly for centuries powered down. Massive fleets that had once darkened the skies drifted motionless in orbit, awaiting orders that would never come. The Galactic Council's banners, symbols of unquestioned authority for millennia, were lowered from orbital stations and command citadels without resistance. Their reign had not collapsed because another empire had risen to replace them. It had fallen because the illusion of their invincibility had finally been broken. Weeks later, delegates from every corner of known space gathered inside the restored council chamber. The vast crystalline hall looked different now. The towering statues of conquerors had been removed, replaced by empty spaces that allowed the distant stars beyond the transparent walls to shine through. Around the circular chamber sat representatives from civilizations that had once been ignored, exploited, or forced into silence. Some wore ceremonial armor scarred by decades of occupation. Others carried no symbols of rank at all, only the quiet dignity of survivors who had finally lived long enough to witness freedom. The atmosphere was cautious, almost fragile. Every delegate understood how easily victory could become another form of domination. Then the great doors opened. Admiral Elena Hayes entered without an honor guard. There was no military parade behind her. No fleet waiting outside the station as a reminder of Earth's unmatched strength. She wore the same dark command uniform she had worn throughout the war, its fabric marked only by a single silver emblem representing Earth. As thousands of eyes followed her toward the center of the chamber, memories of the conflict flooded every mind. They remembered the hidden fleets, the impossible defenses, the precision with which humanity had dismantled the Council's power. They also remembered something far rarer. Humanity had stopped firing the moment the fighting no longer served justice. Hayes stood beneath the chamber's great dome, looking upward as countless stars shimmered beyond the transparent ceiling. For a long moment, she said nothing. The silence itself carried more weight than any prepared speech. Finally, her calm voice echoed through the chamber. Earth claims no throne. The word spread across every translation system simultaneously. We seek no tribute. We ask for no conquered worlds. If we replace one empire with another, then everything sacrificed during this war was meaningless. No applause interrupted her. Only complete attention. She continued. For 400 years, humanity remained silent because we feared becoming what we had seen history create again and again. We learned that power without restraint always becomes tyranny. Peace without strength becomes surrender. Lasting freedom demands both. Across the chamber, hardened warriors lowered their heads. Former prisoners quietly wiped tears from their eyes. Even commanders who had once fought against humanity found themselves unable to argue with the truth unfolding before them. Before leaving the podium, Hayes transmitted one final message across every communication relay in the known galaxy. It reached bustling trade stations, distant mining colonies, forgotten frontier settlements, and newborn civilizations that had only recently looked toward the stars. The message was simple. Peace is not proven by promises. A brief pause followed. It is proven by restraint. On Earth, life continued much as it always had. Children played beneath blue skies, never realizing how close those skies had come to burning. Farmers worked quiet fields. Scientists returned to exploration instead of survival. Beneath the oceans, inside hidden lunar fortresses, and among silent defenses scattered across the solar system, the Sentinel fleet powered down once more. Massive hangar doors closed. Ancient weapons returned to darkness. Humanity did not celebrate its victory with monuments or conquest. It simply resumed what it had always chosen whenever possible. Peace. And from that day forward, whenever young civilizations studied the history of the Great Galactic War, they remembered one lesson above all others. Earth had remained silent longer than anyone could understand. But when the galaxy mistook that silence for weakness, humanity answered with such wisdom, courage, and restraint that the stars themselves seemed to remember. And this time, the entire galaxy listened.